Good afternoon, Club 17. We've got a great program today, and first thing I want to do is welcome everybody who's here in the Hall of Mirrors at the Hilton Hotel, and also welcome everybody who's watching on Zoom today. Glad to have everyone participate. And we're going to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we're going to have our invocation and four-way test, and Uda Popke is going to lead us.
Good morning, everybody. I think it's really nice to see so many familiar faces. Let us bow our heads. We are grateful today to welcome Cliff Mentrup, the CEO of KYOCERA SENCO, a company which produces industrial tools. What a year this has been. Hopefully everyone has had their shots and are seeking an appointment to get their shot. Hans and I had ours several weeks ago. It makes a difference in your attitude and well-being. We all still need to wear masks, but things are getting back to normal. I must say how good it is to be here in person. We also are very grateful and humble that the United States is #1 in the distribution of the vaccines. Hans and I thank the club for making the virtual visits possible. Let us pray that this is the end of the pandemic. Amen. Now the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, and stay healthy.
Thank you, Uda, and it's great to have you and Hans back with us here in person. And now we're going to have a meeting sponsorship moment. Our very own club president-elect, Melinda Kelly, is going to give us some words on the company that she and her husband Mike co-own, Right Path Enterprises. Melinda?
Thank you, President Brett. We are really excited and honored to sponsor our meeting today. Right Path Enterprises, our firm was, the inception of our firm was 2014 with Mike Kelly and me, my husband and I. We work with individuals, companies, businesses, corporations, and nonprofits. We specialize in strategic planning, leadership development, personal coaching, and qualitative data analysis. We help our clients to define the pathway that they're on, analyze where they are, look at methods, strategies to scaffold themselves to where they want to be. And we also help determine roadblocks, obstacles that could possibly be in the way to hinder that success. And we developed an individual plan with them, be it an individual, as I mentioned before, or a company, business, or organization. We are really passionate about what we do. Our background we use to assist our clients in whatever they feel is important to them as we help them crystallize their goals and to actually follow through on their plan of action to actually be successful in the areas that they have chosen. I would be remiss if I didn't say that we chose today's date to sponsor a meeting because my dad's birthday is today. He would have been 92. When we committed to this date, I didn't realize that my brother would have transitioned as we had his homegoing service last week. So Right Path Enterprises, in honor of David Shepard Jr. and David Shepard III, we sponsor the meeting on their behalf. So if you have any questions, if we can help in any way, please contact us at Right Path Enterprises, Mike Kelly or myself, and we have information out there on the sponsor table. Thank you.
And Melinda, it's great to have you back. And I know that our club has supported you after the passing of your brother, which we all were so sad to hear, but wonderful to have you back with us today. And thanks to you and Mike for sponsoring today's meeting. And I want to announce we have a visitor with us today. Very glad to have Lisa, is it Lickard? Who is a guest of Steve King, and she's from the EMI network. So welcome, Lisa. Great to have you here. And just a few announcements before I forget. Somebody left a pair of glasses in the Rotary office, so if these are yours, they're going to be right on the table here, and if you don't grab them, I think they fit me. So please come up after the meeting if they're yours. And just a few other announcements. Just a reminder, when you're finished eating lunch, if you could put your mask back on, that would be great. And we have several birthdays to celebrate this week. April 13th, Bob Brandstetter and Angie Ferguson, and April 14th, Herschel York. Let's wish them all a happy birthday. And is one of them with us today? Okay, stand up and we're going to clap for you again, Angie. It's good to see you. Yeah, very good. And I just want to give a word of thanks on behalf of the club to Julie Poyer and Allie Hubbard. They're the co-chairs of our Women in Rotary group, and they did a great job co-hosting the Emma wine tasting, which we had on Tuesday evening. That was a fun event. People joined in person at Emma's Wine on Riverside Drive, and people also joined virtually. So nice that we could have that be accessible both ways. And just a word, switching gears, you know our club has been hosting for a number of years, I should say sponsoring, a UC Rotaract Club, and that University of Cincinnati Rotaract Club has been very active, and this has been a challenging year for them in terms of staying active and connected in the midst of COVID, and what they would really love is to stay connected to our club. So our UC Rotaract chair from our club is Jim Brooks, and Jim is asking if there are any Rotarians who either had a career or currently making a career in one of these areas if they'd like to mentor one of the UC students in terms of vocation and being able to talk with them. It's a very rewarding opportunity, and the 6 areas that we're looking for are aerospace engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, biochemistry, architecture, or IT. So if you have a background in one of those and you'd like to get to know a UC Rotaractor, contact Jim Brooks in our club and he'll get you connected. And we now have this all-new Split the Pot, which we're getting used to. It works great. We're going to have a name drawn, and whether the person's in the audience, if they are, you can shout out a number between 1 and 41, corresponding to cards on the table. I'll flip the card over. If you're on Zoom and your name is chosen, text my cell phone with the number between 1 and 41, and we'll take it from there. So our guest, Cliff Mentrup, I'm going to ask you if you'd be willing to pull a name out of the hat. Oh my goodness. Steve Dreyfel. Steve won last week. That's why I'm saying, oh my goodness. There he is, back there. It just shows, Steve, you don't have to be sitting on the dais to win. You can be sitting anywhere in the room and win this thing. So, there's plenty of names in this basket. That's just luck of the draw. So, you could, number 1 again, okay. Too bad, 9 of clubs. So you will get the daily winning, which is $15. Don't spend it all in one place. And we'll have the accumulating pot keep going, which will probably get close to $700. So thanks to all who are part of that, and you can sign up month by month. So if you're interested in being part of it for May, let the Rotary office know by the last Friday in April, and they'll charge your card on file and take it from there. It's a fun event. So just a reminder, you've seen this in E-Raise, we have a neighborhood coffee in Kenwood on Tuesday, April 20th from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30. It's at the Panera on Montgomery Road. No need to make a reservation. If you'd like to stop in at Panera on this Tuesday morning, just stop in and see some other Rotarians who are there and have a chance to catch up a little bit. And another announcement, you know, we've been doing something different this Rotary year. Anytime we have a month with a fifth Thursday, we're using that as an opportunity to change the time of our meeting and change the venue. So April has a fifth Thursday. It's April 29th. We will not be meeting at the Hilton that day for our regular meeting. We'll be meeting at the new Sugar and Spice downtown location, which is in the historic diner on Sycamore Street. It should be a lot of fun. The breakfasts are great. There's a good choice of menu there. And our speaker for the day will be the owner, Adam Mayerson, who is also the vice president of real estate at Mayerson Company. Sign-up sheets are available here if you're with us at the Hilton today, right on the desk in the lobby, so sign up. And if you're watching on Zoom and you want to be part of this, just go to E-Raise. There's a sign-up. Just send it in to the Rotary office. You have to sign up by April 19th. Thank you. And we do have our very first of this Rotary year, Rotary After Hours, on Friday, April 30th at Taft Brewporium on Spring Grove Avenue from 5 to 7 p.m. That's a Friday. If you're interested in coming, it'd be a lot of fun, very casual. Just email the Rotary office by April 19th for the Rotary After Hours. And next week's meeting, it's Earth Day next Thursday. And we're going to celebrate Earth Day. We've got two great people coming. We have Ryan Mooney Bullock. She's the executive director of Green Umbrella. She's partnered with us, her organization has, on a number of things this year. And we also have Tom Boeing, and Tom is the president of the Ohio Valley Forestry Fellowship. And Ryan will be our keynote speaker, and Tom is going to bring with him seedling trees for all attendees at the meeting. So I think that's a great way to appreciate Earth Day. And now I'm going to switch gears to today's program. We're very pleased to have with us today Cliff Mentrup, who's the CEO of KYOCERA Senco. Please join me in welcoming him to the Rotary Club, and I'll give his bio in just a minute. Cliff has more than 2 decades of experience working as a corporate lawyer and corporate executive. He's currently the CEO of KYOCERA Senco Industrial Tools. His task is to develop the company's global strategy and also work on manufacturing and company sales and operations performance. And KYOCERA Senco is a designer and manufacturer of fasteners, tools, and related accessories with sales in more than 40 countries and operating subsidiaries in more than 20. And KYOCERA Senco Industrial was formed in August 2017 when KYOCERA Corporation acquired Senco Holdings. And this company is known for the quality of its products and for its diverse product line. It's a well-known company. A lot of their manufacturing is located, and their sales and marketing are located in the United States, including a plant right in Anderson Township, as well as in Europe. So Cliff is a native of Milford, Ohio, a graduate of Miami University, also a graduate of University of Virginia Law School. He's married with 2 teenage children and lives right here in Hyde Park. Cliff, we're really glad you've joined us at Rotary today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Brett, for the introduction. I appreciate it. Thank you also to you guys for the opportunity to speak to you today. When I was first invited to speak to the Rotary Club, I knew of the Rotary Club, but I did a little research because I wasn't sure exactly what the Rotary Club was all about. And in talking to Brett and my online research, it seems you're about service, public service, charity. And regardless of knowing that, the beginning of my presentation is going to be about the KYOCERA philosophy of doing business. And I think you'll see that the philosophy of KYOCERA and of this organization are very well aligned. Our founder, Dr. Inamori, has founded Study of Ethics Center at Case Western University here in Ohio. He funds the Kyoto Prize, which is given once a year. It's kind of the Nobel Prize of Japan. It's given to 3 people from around the world for advancements in technology and arts and science, and many of them do go on to also win the Nobel Prize. So it's an organization by its philosophy dedicated to, I think, very similar things to your organization. So I'll get started on my slides. So, 1 second. Okay. So the next slide, please, which I am in charge of advancing. There we go. Okay, so this is my agenda for today, and it's my hope that you guys leave here at least knowing something about 2 companies. KYOCERA, which as you will see is a global Japanese conglomerate, and my suspicion is that most of you have never heard of KYOCERA. And I'm going to pause 1 second. If you would raise your hand if you have heard of KYOCERA before, that's actually pretty good. Well, I know not everyone in here or online today has, but I can guarantee you you've probably interacted with something from KYOCERA today and didn't know it. So it's probably just a big company that you've never heard of, and I'm going to do my best to provide you with an introduction to them. So the KYOCERA philosophy, which I touched on, is the cornerstone of how we manage, and it's unique. And at least to me, it seems like something appealing to you guys in the Rotarian mindset. And so I hope that you walk away with the desire to Google it on your own, because there's no way that I can do it justice today in this short presentation. The second company that I will discuss is the one for which I am president and CEO, and that is Senco. I think there's likely a better chance that many of you have at least heard of Senco because we are local. I won't ask for a raise of hands, but Senco is over 60 years old. It's been manufacturing in Newtown on the east side of Hamilton County for all those years. And Senco has a long history, and I hope you leave here with an update on a long-time Cincinnati company, and that you feel a little bit of pride in our comeback for the past 10 years, as I certainly do. The third thing that I'd like you to leave here with is a feeling for what's going on in the marketplace today, at least for those in the manufacturing sector. This may be something for which you're already keenly aware, and so the statistics that I'll show will be preaching to the choir if you're in this segment, but for those in different areas of business, you may find it new or interesting to see what's going on. Finally, I'll try to tie it all together with a little prognostication of the future and what it may hold for our economy and how KYOCERA Senco is responding to these unique market conditions. So KYOCERA is now Senco's sole stockholder since the late 2017. By way of background, Senco was a family-owned business for many years, and it fell on hard times and filed bankruptcy in 2009. During the housing crisis. It was sold to a private equity firm out of Chicago. In 2017, that private equity firm sold Senco to KYOCERA. Senco was KYOCERA's first entry into this pneumatic and power tool and fastening market, and since then, KYOCERA has purchased the Ryobi company in Japan, and they've also purchased one of Senco's largest customers, a national distributor called Southern Carlson. I expect over time that we will purchase more companies in this space. As for background on KYOCERA, KYOCERA is a public Japanese company on the Tokyo Exchange, founded in 1959. It currently has about $16 billion in revenue, 77,000 employees spread around the globe, but primarily in Asia. And this is a picture of their headquarters building in Kyoto, Japan. KYOCERA was founded by Dr. Kazuo Inamori, and he's a bit of a celebrity in Japan for his corporate philosophy and way of managing a business, and is considered one of the last living post-war Japanese business magnates who drove the Japanese economic miracle right after the war. Dr. Inamori founded KYOCERA at a young age. He was an engineer with little business experience, and he developed over time a philosophy as a non-business person that he relied on to grow KYOCERA into what it is today. He used this philosophy also to found Japan's second largest mobile telecom provider, KDDI, which KYOCERA owns a large share of. And he was also called upon by the government of Japan to run Japan Airlines after it filed bankruptcy in 2010, and Dr. Inamori was 78 years old at the time. He turned it to profitability and relisted JAL on the Tokyo Exchange within 2.5 years, and he used the KYOCERA philosophy to develop and turn these businesses around. At KYOCERA and all its own companies, the philosophy is taken seriously. Everyone receives a handbook, and we train on it a few times a year, and our adherence to its principles is the primary measure for our reviews and promotions. If you don't take the philosophy seriously, you won't last very long at KYOCERA. I will share a bit of it here, and the reason I'm spending time on it is I believe it's unique among corporations anywhere in the world, but in particular in the United States and Europe. The corporate motto of KYOCERA is respect the divine and love people. Dr. Inamori trained as a Buddhist priest, and while religion plays no role in our management, there is clearly a spiritual element to the corporate philosophy. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of Christ's two most important commandments. It's based on respecting people, fair work, and honesty. The last part of the corporate motto is to love people. KYOCERA is founded on an employee-first principle. Dr. Inamori has described to the media that a business is a lot like producing eggs. If you want large and healthy eggs, you take good care of the hen. And if you harass or bully the hen, there will be less or nothing produced. So our management rationale, which is the purpose for existing, is, quote, to provide opportunities for the material and intellectual growth of all of our employees, and through our joint efforts to contribute to the advancement of society and to humankind. So I didn't put that up there, I probably should have, but as you can see, this is an employee and society-centered rationale for existence. There is no mention of profit or no mention of shareholders. These are expected to flow from taking care of our employees and taking care of our customers. Moving on to a couple more key elements of the philosophy. The central principle of the KYOCERA philosophy is to do what is right as a human being. This is the touchstone of any difficult decision. And while it's always not easy to know what the right thing to do as a human being is, we think it's important that we ask the question. And the fundamental premise for our decisions are what we learned in grade school. Don't be greedy, don't cheat, and always be honest. The other key part of the KYOCERA philosophy is amoeba management. And essentially this is radical decentralization. So as the CEO of a KYOCERA group company, I very much appreciate this one. So long as we adhere to the philosophy and follow the expected approval process for the big things, we're encouraged to flourish on our own. And even within KYOCERA SENCO, we try to practice this by dividing parts of the business into autonomous business units, and they are responsible for their own P&L. So for example, manufacturing will sell its product to sales, and within manufacturing, Wire Draw sells it to Staples, sells it to sales, and on like that, so that everyone has a P&L that they are responsible for maximizing. It's difficult to cover all the KYOCERA philosophy, but I encourage you to go, as I said, to the KYOCERA website or the website of Dr. Inamori himself. I can assure you of two things. It's unique in the business world, and we take practicing it seriously. So now that I covered the soul of KYOCERA, I wanted to give you a little flavor of what KYOCERA produces. The main business serves primarily as a supplier of component parts, which is why I said earlier that most of us interacted with KYOCERA products today, we just didn't know it. And on this page, you can see KYOCERA as a major supplier of industrial ceramic components. That is the foundation of the company, fine ceramics, mixing powders and sintering them. So on this page, you see the automotive, and a lot of these products are used in most automobiles and industrial processes. Things like fuel injector stacks and oxygen sensors were probably in your car today. Here, it's liquid crystal displays and heads-up displays. I just bought a new car, and it looks like a little hologram on the hood of the car, and KYOCERA makes those. We make cutting tools from these fine ceramics that are used on CNC machines, and of course you can see our tools here. Ceramic packages and insulators for semiconductors. Semiconductors run very hot and they need ceramic insulation. KYOCERA makes its own brand of cell phone, but it's also a supplier to Apple and to Samsung. So if you have either of those in your pocket or purse today, there are about a dozen KYOCERA ceramic and electric parts inside your phone. KYOCERA makes its own printers and copiers, but it's also a major supplier of component parts to almost every major printer and copier brand. So there's a good chance that if you made a copy or printed a document today, that KYOCERA was inside. As I mentioned, KYOCERA sells its own branded cell phones. These are ruggedized cell phones for sale here in the US and Europe and sold to fire departments and police departments and construction sites. But in Japan, they're a major producer of regular phones. So one of KYOCERA's largest segments is manufacturing their own brand of copier and printer, and in the US, this is typically how people become aware of KYOCERA, that and the branded cell phone. KYOCERA is also a large supplier of solar energy panels. It's something they've been doing for almost 50 years, and that was long before it was trendy. They also use their expertise in fine ceramics to make medical and dental implants. They make jewelry, and they make ceramic knives for the kitchen, which you can buy on Amazon. So as you can tell, KYOCERA is a diverse company. And I realize conglomerates have gone out of fashion in the US. GE, for example, keeps paring down. But conglomerates are alive and well at KYOCERA and in Japan, and here's my view on why. This isn't the KYOCERA philosophy, this is Cliff's opinion. KYOCERA has a commitment to its employees, and in order to provide stability to its employees, it needs a diverse and stable financial situation. And I think being involved in so many diverse areas allows stability. When one segment is down, others are often up, and if one area is suffering, like the branded cell phones did when Samsung and Apple came out, it allows those employees to be offered employment in another segment. As you can tell, pneumatic and power tools and fasteners were a little far afield for KYOCERA, but here we are today and we're building a global presence and providing exposure to the KYOCERA company to the US and European construction market, and that's an important part of their portfolio now. Okay, so a little bit about Senco. So Senco is the brand you're going to see on the shelf, and KYOCERA Senco is our corporate name. We have over $300 million in revenue, and it's pretty evenly split between our two major markets of the US and Europe. And I was telling Brett when we were talking before, I used to travel 3, sometimes 4 months a year before the pandemic because we have subsidiaries around the world. These subs are typically about 10 to 20 people, and they sell our product into that country, including some far-flung places like Turkey and New Zealand. Our US headquarters is here in Cincinnati. Our European headquarters is in Amsterdam. We have about 150 people in Amsterdam. About 400 of our 800 employees are scattered across Europe. We're a bit unique in our industry in that we usually engineer what we make, and we manufacture a lot of what we sell. Many of our competitors have outsourced these functions. We have manufacturing facilities in Cincinnati with about 200 people in Newtown making fasteners and engineering our tools. And we make threaded anchors and wall plugs in Denmark, and we make fasteners in France near the Alsace. And if you're a wine lover or a skier, that is a great place to go. The last bullet on organic growth is obviously important to me. After the catastrophe of bankruptcy in 2009, we have really been able to turn things around. In the past several years, we have had growth rates in excess of 10% a year, and we've grown our profitability even faster. Our time under private equity ownership was great for righting the financial ship and returning our business back to the basics. But KYOCERA's willingness to invest in new products and in our people has been a game changer for these past few years. I realize that for many of us that are accustomed on the news or otherwise to .com and tech growth rates, 10% a year over year may not be impressive, but for a 60-year-old industrial manufacturer with global low-cost competition coming at us every day, it's something of which I am proud. So here we have a brief overview of the Senco product line. We primarily make collated fasteners for use in our pneumatic and power tools, although you can use them on any pneumatic. Our tools and fasteners are a bit of the razor and razor blade model, so we make most of our sales and profit on the fasteners, but we have the best tool, and that ensures our fasteners are used and keeps us relevant. So here's a quick shot of our fastener manufacturing facility here in town. We're proud to still be making this product here in Cincinnati. 80% of our fasteners for the U.S. market are made here. And we make all of our U.S. fasteners from recycled U.S. steel, which is made from shredded auto scrap. And with the exception of a few very small makers here in the U.S. who buy U.S. steel, every single one of our competitors uses imported steel, which is made from mined iron ore. Here's a picture of our core pneumatic offering. We have tools for almost every application and every size of staple or nail. And these are air-driven tools on this slide. And we sell these through Home Depot, Menards, and a myriad of professional trade outlets. We also provide our tools free of charge to large industrial factory users like Champion Homes, Clayton Homes, Thor, and Jayco, and the world's largest pallet maker, Chet Pallet. So we do this so long as we get a contract to supply fasteners to them. And 40% of our revenue comes from industrial and factory usage of our products, where quality and service must be high. If you are making your home in a factory instead of stick built, you cannot run out of fasteners. And if you're shipping that component across the country, the fastener better be good, because it touches literally every part of an RV and every part of the component of the home that you're making. And so a lot of people don't put a lot of value in the quality of a nail until they have to do that. So one of the major areas of focus for me in the past 3 years has been revitalizing our new product pipeline. When I traveled around with our sales guys 3-4 years ago, that's a door opener, obviously. And in a mature business such as ours, many companies just keep taking cost out and they stop innovating so that they can compete with low-cost foreign imports. Our strategy is different. We will make the most innovative product. We'll engineer and develop it ourselves here in the US or in Europe, and we will often make it in the US or in the local market that we serve. And we'll charge a premium for the service that we provide to the industrial customer. I think there is no future in the low end of the market for us in the US and Europe. On this slide, you see our somewhat recent innovations. On the left is the world's first cordless air spring, the nailer called Fusion. Big trend in our market is to get away from the hose and drive fasteners so that you don't have something to trip over. So the date of launch was a few years ago, but we've done a lot of work in scaling this product up so that you can drive big 3- and 4-inch nails and down. And when you have a pressurized vessel like that, it requires a lot of engineering. And we've been involved in a few lawsuits because our foreign competition copies. In the middle is our DuraSpin collated screw driving tool, providing speed for screwing applications rather than the tedious process of driving each individual screw. And if you've ever put in a deck yourself or driven screws, doing it one by one is not the way a professional would like to do it. And so we collated the screws and developed a tool that can drive them rapidly. And we also, on the right is our automation product, and we provide automation solutions for fastening needs in the factory setting that I described. And this is helping solve manpower issues and removing human error, which I'll discuss more later. But we can mount to our automation products things like DuraSpin screws. There we go. So here are some close-up pictures of the cordless Fusion product and our DuraSpin screw tools. These are all battery operated. Okay, so as I promised, I wanted to end with a few slides on what we're seeing in the market as we come out of the global pandemic. The first is that we are seeing inflation across our industry. We and all of our competition have taken price increases. I think most of us are contemplating more. And we're seeing price increases in all of our major material inputs. As we come out of the pandemic, we're seeing shortages of supply. As I mentioned, we supply RV manufacturers and manufactured home builders, and these companies would like to be working around the clock 6 or 7 days a week. But it seems there's always a supplier who shuts down their line. There's a shortage of glue, there's been a shortage of appliances, there's a shortage of lumber, there's a shortage of caulking, chemicals are not delivered, all due to shortages. So our goal is never to be the supplier that is short, and so far we haven't been. But these shortages in all these industries are due to staffing levels, due to COVID, due to the government's reaction to COVID, due to shipping delays and other factors that are driven by COVID ramifications and meeting increasing demand. I've seen pictures, if you look at the West Coast docks, back when there was a longshoreman strike a few years ago, there were pictures and there would be like 5 ships waiting to dock, or 10. I saw a picture recently, it looked like 30 or 40 ships that are waiting to dock. There's just something happened to the supply chain with containers, and I'm sure many of you are aware of it and probably know more about it than me, but it's a serious problem. Labor is the other thing that's in short supply. If any of you drive around Route 50, you may have seen our billboard signs for labor. We've raised wages a few times, but simply put, there's a shortage of labor with appropriate skills and the means and desire. I know that we're not alone in our struggle to recruit and train skilled and semi-skilled manufacturing labor, because we see it in our manufacturing customers and our home builders and carpenters and factory users of tools and fasteners. So Senco's always been an early indicator of the general economic conditions due to the markets we serve, things like pallets, remodeling, and housing. And all of this leads me to believe that we may be entering a period of above average inflation, wage growth, continued supply chain gaps, which will cause some weird shortages, a higher economic growth maybe, although not as high as it could be until the supply chain kinks caused by the pandemic are corrected. So I wanted to demonstrate my point with a few manufacturing and housing related metrics that we track every month at Senco. And the first that you see here is lumber. Lumber has been and continues to be in short supply in the US. You see here the swoon that occurred in 2020 due to the pandemic, and then the steady increase now to over $1,000 per 1,000 board feet. And obviously this is a major input to housing and pallets in all of our markets. So this is the commodity that I track the closest. If you look at the total cost of a collated stapler nail, it's over 80% steel, and the balance is in glue labor and overhead. So the price of steel has typically been around $600 per ton, maybe a little less actually. You see here, this is steel rod. The top is steel rod, the bottom is the scrap index, which we follow to auto scrap. You can see in 2018, when Trump imposed the 25% tariff on steel, prices went up to $900 per ton and then gradually declined back to $650 a ton. Driven now, I believe, mostly by demand instead of the tariffs, although these tariffs remain in place with the new administration still. Steel prices are approaching $1,100 per ton, and they continue to climb. So most steel rod mills are not accepting new customers, and they're allocating product at less than what people order. These prices represent about a 70% increase over just a few months in our primary raw material. So that's the struggle. We have to pass that price on. This slide shows the crazy price of freight. This index is the China Freight Index, but it's representative of the market. As you can see, prices are up over 100% starting late last year. And freight seems to be one of the primary drivers of food and consumer inflation right now that you may have felt at Kroger or wherever you shop. Because everything in the world is shipped somewhere, whether it's imported, and we're also seeing, I don't have a slide on trucking rates, but trucking rates are increasing as well. So this is a slide from 2019, but it shows a trend that I am sure will continue once the pandemic clears. As you can see in blue, the unemployment level continues to fall below the red line, which is job openings. And this demonstrates what everyone in HR feels, which is we just do not fundamentally have enough trained people looking for jobs. As I said, I think the pandemic has changed this dynamic for a bit. In fact, I know it has. Now we have different issues in getting people and training them. But I feel the long-term trend is a lack of workers with the skills that manufacturing and others may need. And by skills, I don't mean only college, but also machine operators and carpenters, electricians, and mechanics. So I wanted to end on a 30-second video that shows what Senco's doing about the labor shortage. We know that we're not the only manufacturer suffering with a labor shortage, and as I mentioned, all of our manufacturing clients seem to have the same issue. In the home building segment, which is our primary end market, due to the lack of skilled workers and the cost advantages of in-plant home building, I believe that on-site stick-built homes and buildings will comprise less and less of the marketplace, especially for mid and lower-priced houses. Making either the entire house or its major components in a factory is already a big trend, and that's our big industrial segment, but it's going to continue to get stronger with the labor dynamics that I discussed. So based on this, and as part of our commitment to innovation, we're beginning to partner with the robotics division, which I didn't show, of KYOCERA, and it's also the division that, we're also partnering with the division that makes autonomous sensors that drive your car. And we're developing an automation system that goes beyond the ones I showed you earlier for building homes in a factory. And this is one of the advantages that we're finding of being part of a larger organization that has a lot of technology that we can use. So the video I'm going to show you just gives you a little flavor of where we're headed. And it's a little timely. I read the Inquirer this morning, and Kroger is rolling out robots to fulfill orders for home delivery. And so the robotic components that you're going to see are not KYOCERA's, but it gives you an idea of where we want to go. I think automation of many industries is going to continue at a very high pace as people struggle with the skilled labor shortage and the issues in our supply chain. I think solving this problem or confronting it is going to be a great service to our industrial clients and keep us very relevant. So you could play the video. The reason I brought that, I think most people think of a home being built on site with the carpenters and the framers showing up and putting it together. And more, and we're seeing this in places, we are the #1 in our category in all of Scandinavia. And we're seeing this and this is where we got the idea for here, primarily in Sweden and Finland and places where labor rates are very high. Automation is the future. And I know Kroger automated with distribution robots. Building a house or segments of it is a little tougher of a job, but that's our challenge, and that's where we see our future. So that concludes my presentation, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
So we have questions in the room, but I'll start with one from a member, Deborah Schultz, who's watching on Zoom. She said, your company philosophy and Mr. Iamori are admirable. Could you speak to KYOCERA's policies regarding the advancement of women in their businesses?
Okay, so in Japan in general, this is a weakness, and KYOCERA is aware of this weakness, and the promotion of women is a struggle. Here in the US, it's not, and so I hope that we're leading more by example. It's a lot of structural issues in Japan, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know what else to say about it, but the Zoom question is relevant in that it's an area that we are aware we need to improve, primarily in Japan. Okay.
Two questions. Japan being an island nation of 125 million, their immigration looks much different than ours.
Uh-huh.
And also Japanese is harder to learn, and a lot of different societal changes. So, are they taking more of a globalization approach toward growth as it deals with labor?
Yes. So, I'm sorry. The question was, is KYOCERA taking more of a global approach to growth, given it's a very homogeneous country and there's not very much movement of labor into Japan? And the answer is yes. But we a lot of it is, like for example, our company, they acquired us, but we were very small in Japan. So we are looking to use their resources to grow in Japan and in Asia. But like importing into Japan was not the answer. They are looking to grow outside of Japan.
Second question is, what can we learn from Japan with regard to dealing with intellectual property theft?
Mm-hmm.
Do they handle it different than we do?
Yeah, so on that Fusion tool, we're involved in litigation on it, as I mentioned. In Japan and Japanese companies, and again, this is my opinion, they are more willing to trade. There's an idea in Japan that they really like harmony, and they like the preference is to get along with people, and when you make decisions, you cast a pretty wide net. And as an American now working there, it's called numayashi, and that's one of the challenges is, you gain consensus for your decision, and then you implement it. And in Japan, on patents, they are much more willing when they have a patent that someone's violated to try to negotiate a settlement. When I think in the US, we're much more likely to say, that you dirty dog, I'm going to sue you. So that's a big difference in management of it. They will be involved in far fewer lawsuits over patents, and they will try to enforce them in a different way. Our lawsuit was already ongoing, and I don't know if it would have settled anyway. So.
I have another question from a member on Zoom, from Doug Bolton. First of all, he says, thanks, Cliff, for your willingness to present to us today. Fascinating perspectives. What keeps you from expanding your manufacturing operations in Cincinnati?
Well, there's two things that make manufacturing here a challenge. And like I said, we're the last biggie we're the only one that makes staples in the United States anymore. And I did bring an anti-dumping case against China on staples, and we won and got 300% duties against China. It should be that you make staples and nails locally. The cost, the price of steel should be somewhat a commodity around the country, or similar in price, tariffs aside. And the cost of shipping these blocks of steel, because it's mostly steel, should be prohibitive, and you should have local markets for staples and nails, but you don't. We see overwhelming amount of imports from overseas, and we proved in the dumping case that a lot of that is subsidization and currency manipulation and things like that. So the primary thing that keeps us from making more here is the price of steel in the U.S. is higher than the rest of the world. When things normalize, I hope that it's enough that we can continue, because we do make fasteners profitable here, and labor is another big issue for us. But we are always looking to expand, and we do not shy away from manufacturing in high labor markets. Denmark, France, and the U.S. are our manufacturing sites. There's a question here.
In terms of the KYOCERA philosophy, I think it was Milton Friedman, maybe 30 or 40 years ago, who said that the job of management
Uh-huh.
the job of management was to take care of the shareholder.
Right.
Is that still the philosophy in America, or are we moving a little bit more towards KYOCERA?
Yeah. So the question was, are we moving away from a shareholder first sort of mentality in America? And first I'll comment on Japan. I think they've moved away from it in Japan. I think this notion of taking care, I think the founder of Alibaba might have some similar mentality towards his employees. There's, when you look at customers, employees, and shareholders, in the U.S., traditionally, shareholders have always come first, and that's the purpose of an organization, to drive value for shareholders. And you still have those three at KYOCERA. It's just the emphasis is first on employees. Very close second would be customers. And the philosophy at KYOCERA is, if you take care of those two elements, the shareholders will be happy. And that philosophy was written by our primary shareholder right now. Even though it's a public company, he still owns enough to be, he doesn't own a majority, but he's enough to be significant. So, but in America, I don't know. There's a lot of initiatives on things that from a pure financial standpoint, aren't great for shareholders in the short term. You know, environmental issues and things like that may not pay dividends immediately, but I think there might be a trend towards de-emphasizing shareholders here as well. Although I think shareholder remains the king or queen.
So I have two from online. One is a comment from a member, Bruce Brandstetter, just saying that he used his KYOCERA scanner copier right before he came into the meeting today.
That's great.
And he said it works great.
All right, good.
And the other is from a member who's also on Zoom, Cheryl Parker, and she said, you mentioned automation. How is automated vehicle technology being utilized in your overseas operation currently, and are you exploring usage here in Cincinnati?
So if you look at KYOCERA Senco, we're not using it yet. So I spend a lot of time at KYOCERA and their headquarters learning about the balance of the business. And so we clearly, KYOCERA Corporation sells autonomous driving components to all major vehicle manufacturers, you know, the Volkswagen Group and all of the majors in Japan. And as we look to automation of building a house, you not only need robotics, but if you can take it to the next level and tell the robot what it's doing and what material it's encountering, that takes it to a whole nother level. So that's where we want to go, but right now we're not.
One more. We'll take one more.
When will Hideki Matsuyama start wearing a Senko logo?
That's a good question. So we are, we've kind of been having a little bit of a, coming out party for Senco that, hey, we're still a relevant so we're sponsoring FC Cincinnati, but I don't know, maybe we should, when he does interviews, he should wear a Senco hat or something, or KYOCERA hat.
Very good, and that was a good question, too. Cliff, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For a
Thanks for
great
having me.
presentation. And Cliff and I had a chance to talk right before the meeting a little bit, and we talked about Rotary. And you know we're very service-focused, and one of the areas we're focused on around the world, Rotary International, is ending polio, which is a campaign that's been going on very strongly for 40 years. It's making huge efforts. Polio is only left in 2 countries. And in appreciation of you speaking to us today, we're going to make a donation in your honor to the Rotary International End Polio Now campaign. Thank you very much. And the other thing, our Rotary theme for this year is Rotary Opens Opportunities, and we're very interested and focused on opening up opportunities for a number of people in our community, particularly young people, opening up opportunities for our members in terms of personal, professional growth, and you as the CEO of a major company are focused on increasing opportunities for your people, and you work as part of a company that's very focused on people. I'd like to give you a Rotary Opens Opportunities pin in honor of what you're doing. Thank you very much, Cliff. Thank you. And really appreciate the chance. We had a lot of great questions today, a lot of interaction. And just a reminder, next Thursday, Earth Day, we've got Ryan Mooney-Bullock from Green Umbrella coming to speak, and also Tom Boeing from Ohio Valley Forestry Fellowship. Please join us next Thursday. And in the meantime, have a great weekend. Meeting adjourned.